And again, Macarena, thank you for joining us tonight, and everybody else, thank you for joining us. Again, Cindy and Shane from the Creative Real Estate University Facebook group and YouTube channel. And again, we're here to talk about all good things with real estate. It's always exciting to have everybody. And tonight's going to be a fun night because we're always talking about money. That's always a good thing. So we're just saying, so you're from the Atlanta area and you and your husband are doing fix and flips.
So I have done buy and hold since 2009, and this is our first fix and flip together. I've always done everything by myself.
Okay.
He's my partner, not my husband.
Okay.
So this is the first time that we've truly partnered to do a project together.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been kind of leery to do fix and flips in this market, in this interest rate situation that we're in. You're the opposite. You're starting some fix and flips. Is that because of that belt line and the kind of the, so it's very niche to that market?
Absolutely. In fact, I don't want to do any more fix and flips. I want to hold. In fact, I actually want to hold this one.
Yes.
Because I think in 5 years, it's going to almost double. So we think if we don't get the price we want, we might just delist it and keep it.
That's awesome.
But yes, it's totally niche. I don't know that I would do fix and flips now outside of, this niche here.
And again, I'm still doing fix and holds.
Yeah.
And like this one I'm doing here in Michigan, I might, just because of the location, I might end up selling it. I guess once it gets finished and we're going to test the market, we're going to list it both ways and see which one moves faster. But again, that's locally dependent, right? It's just a market dependent. But we have some other fix and holds that we have and that are running very well. The rent in certain areas.
Rent here is fantastic. And I just started doing pad split for the first time ever. And that has been amazing, amazing. So our next property that we're fixing right now is going to be another pad split because it's just such a great model. And for Atlanta, I mean, it just makes so much sense.
It's a hot topic right now, right? Everybody's talking about pad split, and I can honestly say I know nothing about it. So we're gonna have you back on, and we're gonna talk pad split opportunities because what I know about it, which is like this much, it's a great way to take a marginal rental house, kind of like what happened to the short-term rentals, right? Took those marginal long-term rentals and we were able to extract more revenue out of them because it's a different model. Exactly. And the pad split allows you to do that as well, but it's different, right? So we're actually selling out by the room.
Yes, they rent it by the room, but they have a really neat model because they have members, and the members are the ones who rent the rooms. And there's all these, stipulations and criteria to become a member. So all these people are pre-vetted. So it's a really neat model. And I've been studying it for about a year. And so finally I was like, let me just do this and see how it goes. And I mean, it's fantastic, fantastic.
So are those then short-term rentals?
No, the average pad split member stays for 9 months.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And usually vacancies are 2 days or something, because as soon as a room becomes open, then other people can apply for it.
And is that the market that is primarily looking at is student housing?
No, because actually it's not cheap. So I don't know that students are the market for that. It's really working millennials or people who can't buy houses and people who can't afford to live on their own to rent a $2,000 apartment in the city. So they rent a room in a very nice house in the city because that's the way it's affordable. So it's very diverse types of people, but I haven't seen a student come through yet.
Okay. All right. So a little bit of everything. So that'll make a fantastic show one of these days.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody over here in the chat will
I can't have cameras in there, but yes, I'm sure.
And so we'll definitely come back and talk more about maybe burring some houses, fixing holds, and then going into the pad split model.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. But that's not why we're here tonight. What are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about building and establishing business credit.
And why is that important?
Well, if you want to scale your business, you will need to use, of course, other people's money. And part of using other people's money is using the bank's money. So it's important to have credit lines, credit for your business so that you can, you know, if you're in a bind, you have a credit card, you can go to Lowe's, you can go to Home Depot, you've built enough credit with the different credit cards that you can put a pretty penny on there if you really need to. So it's just, for me, I use it more as a security, you know, blanket. So if I ever need to pay for something that I don't have the money right now, I will use one of the credit cards. And certainly the credit lines. The credit lines are fantastic. And to get those credit lines, you need good business credit.
So, and again, that's what you're focusing on, isn't personal credit and personal credit cards. These are business lines of credit. And business, it's perfect.
And business credit cards, yes.
So, and again, as a lot of us have worked through the real estate industry, we've all kind of known, and we've had some discussions here about, you know, building your LLCs, getting the business, get your properties out of your personal name, please. Get them into the business, protect your assets, protect yourself. But while you have this LLC, it can be an you know, there are many reasons to have it, but one of them is that you can build business lines of credit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I get into that in my presentation. I actually start with how to set up your entity. So it's kind of like a very quick 101 on setting up your entity, and then very quickly shifting to then establishing your credit.
Oh, excellent.
So I'll put up my my presentation now, and you all can confirm that you can see it for me, and then you tell me when you want me to start. I don't know if you want to wait a bit longer and see if any other folks hop on, or if we can just start.
I would say go ahead and start. We started on time. Actually, we gave everybody 5 minutes to get going. I'm going to try to.
Do you all see my presentation in full screen, hopefully?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So you can see my presentation, you can hear my voice.
And I'm going to monitor the chat. So if anybody has questions, I will bring them up. And I see someone's. Yes, they all say all good.
Okay, great. So I have learned a bit by giving this presentation several times. And what I've learned is that I need to finish it. So before I take any questions, I'm going to take questions at the end. So there are a lot of questions that I answer in the presentation. So if you have any questions, and you will have them, things will come up, please write them down. And then at the end, I will be happy to answer everything. And if we need to go back to slides, we can certainly do that. All right, so how to build business credit? Well, we're going to talk about number one, how to establish a business entity, because you can't have business credit without a business entity. The second thing we're going to talk about are the steps for obtaining your or actually establishing your business entity, and then obtaining a federal tax ID number, which is what you definitely need, not only for your entity, but for tax purposes as well as for credit. We're going to talk about obtaining a DUNS number and why we do that. And then we'll talk about opening a business checking account, or two, sometimes three. And we'll talk about applying for business credit. How do you do that? What's the best strategy? And then how to build that business credit, build that file and that paydex score, and how to monitor it. Make sure that it's looking the way you want it to look and going in the right direction. So why should you all listen to me? Who am I? So I wanted to share my real estate journey very quickly before I start. So I have been in real estate since 2009. I bought my first investment property in Anaheim, California. It was a condo. And I held onto that condo until 2015 when I moved to Atlanta. It was paid in full, and I sold it for a nice profit. And with that nice profit and everything, all the equity I had, I purchased 5 properties. And I did that because obviously the Atlanta market is much cheaper than the California market. And I purchased those properties in a period of like 4 years. So it wasn't all in 1 year. And then in October 2022, I joined REEN, and I learned so many things because I was doing things very traditionally. And I formed my LLC because before I was doing it just like as an individual person. And then in 2023, I've added 3 more properties to my portfolio. And I also converted a duplex into a quadplex, and I'm building an ADU behind the half acre that's there as well. So I have some experience, and I went ahead and decided to establish my own business credit myself. I didn't sign up for Prime. My mom is a CPA. She's been my financial advisor since, in fact, she's the reason why I bought my first property. She found it for me and said, you must buy it. So because of that background, I decided I could do this myself because I have an advisor in case I, don't know what I'm doing. She definitely would point me in the right direction. So this is why I'm here talking about how to establish business credit. Now, I do want to remind everybody that I am truly a nerdy scientist, okay? I am not a finance or credit expert by any means. My mom is a CPA, and I call her for everything. So is my brother. He's also a CPA. So the disclaimer is that I am not giving any financial or legal advice. All the content you'll see in this presentation is referenced. So it's not for me, and it's for educational purposes. So this presentation is actually a PDF document with live links that you can click on and that take you to all the references that I talk about, okay? So none of this is my original thoughts. Okay, so we talked about the steps. This is the steps that we're going to go through. Some of you have already established your entities, some of you haven't. So if step 1 is a little redundant, apologies, but I think it is helpful for those who haven't established their business entity. So you can do this yourself. You don't have to use Prime or Anderson or another business. You can really do this yourself. It's not difficult. So the very first thing you do to establish your entity is you register that entity with the Secretary of State in your state. So you have to make sure that the entity structure, LLC, is right for your business. It's not right for everybody's business. So make sure that the LLC is the way that you want to go. I can't advise on that because, again, I don't know. My mom said that's the way I should go, and that's the way I went. So you gather what you need to register. You check if your desired business name is already registered with your state. So that's the first thing you do. If it isn't, then great, you get that name. If it is, you got to think of another name. And then you register your LLC with your state's Secretary of State office. You do that online. It is very easy. I have an example there for Georgia. It took me maybe 7 minutes to register. And for Georgia, they send you the letter of registration 7 days later. I know some states do it immediately, so check with your state. All of it is online, and I can assure you it is very simple and straightforward, especially if you're sole proprietor, if you don't have any partners. So that's number 1. Number 2, as soon as you get that registration from your state, you need to obtain a federal EIN. So what is that? That's an employer identification number, EIN. It's also known as a federal employer identification number or the federal tax ID. I'm sure many of you have heard of this before. And it's a unique 9-digit number assigned by the IRS to business entities operating in the United States. And it's really just for identification. So think of it as the Social Security for your business, okay? Very important number. This link here is live. So if you click on it, when you have a PDF document, it takes you directly to the page where you can apply for the EIN number. You will need some information from your registration letter from the state. So you can't do this until you have that registration from the state. But again, very easy. It will not take you more than 10 minutes to fill out this form. And it's free. I should mention, this is totally free. If you're on a site that is asking for any credit card information, you're in the wrong site, okay? It's free from the federal government. And I should say step number 1 registering with your Secretary of State, that is not free. Every state has a fee associated with that. In Georgia, it was, I think, $100 and then $60 to renew every year, but every state is different. Okay, so just know that you do have to pay a registration fee for registering your entity. You do not have to pay to obtain a federal EIN, and you get it immediately, like within the minute it's emailed to you. What do we do next? Now, here's the part where business credit comes in. The very next thing you should do, and I say this, you should, because this is what I did and learned, that you need a DUNS number. I needed a DUNS number. A lot of people skip this step because they don't know they need a DUNS number. And the only reason actually I know about DUNS numbers is because I work for the federal government and we ask our vendors for their DUNS numbers. So I know about DUNS numbers, so I knew I had to get one. You obtain one using the link that I have here. Again, it takes you directly to the application. It's I suppose it's a company, Dun & Bradstreet. What they are is like a credit clearinghouse for businesses, okay? And they have a universal numbering system, and that's the DUNS number. It's unique. It's a 9-digit identifier for your business. It's not the EIN number, okay? It's completely different. You have your EIN number and your DUNS number. And the reason you want that is because it gives you the opportunity to partner with other businesses. It's like a way to get a little bit more street cred for your business. And then any type of credit you obtain for your business, not all of it, but some of it gets reported to DUNS, and that's where some business credit starts building. Okay, so it's one of the credit bureaus for business. Okay, very important. So this is also free. Okay, if you're on a site that's trying to charge you to get a DUNS number, you're on the wrong site. Please use this link. It takes you directly to that site. Again, very easy to do. You will need your EIN number. So that's why I'm presenting this sequentially. It's for a reason, because you need one thing done before you can move to the next one. Okay, so what's next? We have our entity in place. We have our DUNS number. Now we want to open a business checking account, okay? This one doesn't have to be tricky at all, and there's just so many options for how to do this. I will tell you what I did and what worked for me, and then I'll give you some alternatives. The thing that worked for me is physically going to my bank, the one I bank with personally, it's Bank of America. I went into my Bank of America branch. They have a business section. And I said, I have a new business. I need a checking account. And they're like, come on in, sit down. Okay. And they opened my checking account. It was that easy. Now, I did have to sit there for about an hour because it takes time. You have to take some things with you, which I'll cover. So I opened a business account with Bank of America, and I'll talk more about what happened next, but that was my first business account. That's the one I currently use. Afterwards, after a couple of weeks, I decided I want a second business bank account because I want to organize myself really well. So I want this business bank account for my savings, and I want this one for where my rents come in and my mortgages go out. Okay, so you just organize it the way you want. So I went to one of the online business banking options, and there's several. These are 100% online, which means there's no physical bank, okay? And if you click on the link there that says best online business accounts, you'll get the like top 5 or top 10 that are online business accounts. They don't charge you to open an account. They ask for very basic information. They will ask for your EIN number, and then you'll have another business checking account. One of the reasons I like these, I actually have one with Relay. That's the one that I use, because they have the ability to have sub accounts, which Bank of America, weird as it sounds, does not give you the ability to have sub accounts. So that means in my Relay business checking account, I can create sub accounts for each property. I could say this property has an account on its own, this property has an account on its own, and everything goes in and out to that sub account. So it's really, really handy. So I like to do that. And those business checking accounts allow you to do that. They're more flexible and they're really designed for small businesses. They have neat apps. They're like really high tech. Okay. And the third way, and there's many other ways, I'm just giving you the 3 main ways, is to contact your local credit union. If you're already a member, like I am a member of the CDC Federal Credit Union, I have lots of accounts there for many things. So if I wanted a business checking account, I could have gone there as well, but I just chose not to. So if you have a local credit union and they have like a business section, contact them. It's very likely that, you know, you can open a checking account there. Now, what do you need to open a business checking account? Before you head to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, wherever you want to go physically, you need to have your entity registration letter from your state. Take a hard copy, okay? So just take a copy of it. Take your federal EIN letter or notice from the IRS. This one is emailed to you, so you should save it somewhere and then just print a copy out. And then third, which I haven't talked about, is something called entity articles of organization. I have a link there because it takes you to examples of what those look like. I didn't have one established yet for my business. My bank did not ask me for that, but some banks do ask for that. So try to have one ready. It's not hard to do. It's like 3 pages. You know, there's lots of great examples. There's lots of great templates. So, you know, use one of those. If you want to, you know, get advice from a lawyer, you can do that. But it's basically the operating agreement of your business. And then, of course, don't forget to take your ID, okay? Because they will ask for your personal ID. So those are the things you need to take with you to the bank. Don't go to the bank without these things, because then they'll send you home and tell you to come back. What happens next? Now, here's where we get to the good stuff. Now you're going to apply for your business credit. You did all those things. You got your checking account. I mean, you need a checking account because you can't pay for your credit card without a checking account, right? So that has to come first. And now you're ready to open some business credit accounts. So I'm going to tell you that what all the big companies that advise on credit recommend is that your first step be to open net 30 accounts. Several. 4 is the minimum, okay? What's a net 30 account? Well, I'll just very like in layman's term, call it an invoicing system, because that's really what it is. So a vendor will give you 30 days to pay for your purchase. So it's literally an invoice, right? So you buy something and the vendor says, okay, here's your invoice, and the due date is 30th or the 1st or whatever it is. So it's like a very short line of credit. And that's why they're called net 30s. There are net 60s too, which are 60 days. Okay. There are tons of these types of accounts. They're called different things, which it makes it a little bit hard. But the link here takes you to 22 really easy net 30 accounts for businesses. And what you would do, I put 4 here that are very relevant to our industry, which is real estate. The first one is HD Supply. Again, this is an active link. It'll take you straight to the site where it tells you how to apply for these net 30 accounts. And this particular vendor is associated with Home Depot. You can get just about anything that you can get in Home Depot. You go online, you apply for that net 30 account, and then you buy a few things. If you don't have a house yet, you don't have any properties, buy a few things anyway. Every month you want to just buy a few things, get that invoice, and pay that invoice off, okay? Supply Works is also everything construction, everything home repair. So that's another one that has net 30 accounts. Wayfair, I think we all know Wayfair. They don't call theirs a net 30 account. They call theirs like some professional something. So they use a different word, but they also have that kind of account. And then Amazon calls it what it is, which I appreciate. They call it pay by invoice. So when you want to pay anything on Amazon for your business, number one, open a business account with Amazon, not a personal business account. It's free unless you want Prime, then you have to pay for Prime. And then when you make your business related purchases, pay by invoice. And that automatically puts you in their net 30 account system. Okay, then what do you do now? You have 4 is the minimum, okay? Open 6 if you can. There's vendors for like office supplies. There's vendors for just about everything. So if you don't have any businesses, but you need to buy reams of paper every month, get a net 30 account with, Office, whatever it is, it's there on the list, and buy a ream of paper every day. I mean, every week. No, not every day, unless you're a big business, but, buy one every week, buy one every month, and you keep building that credit. All right. So that's net 30, okay? Within about 4 to 6 months of using those net 30 accounts, don't just let them sit there. You use them every month and you pay them off at least a week early every month. After 4 to 6 months of that, you will have established some business credit, hopefully some good business credit, because you will have paid on time, okay? At the same time, now, some people say it can be done this way or not. At the same time, you can apply for a business credit card. I did it backwards. When I was in the Bank of America office, this is why I like going in, because I like to, have established relationships. I said, hey, I'm going to need a credit card now that I have a business. And the employee said, well, why don't you put some cash in it today? Come back in 2 weeks. And now that money will have seasoned, and I can make sure you get a credit card. So that's exactly what I did. I put $5,000 in there just to hold it. It's in the account. And then I came back. She actually made the appointment for me already. She's like, okay, here's the appointment. Come back, in 2 weeks. I came back in. She applied for the business credit card for me, and I was approved for $10,000. So not bad. My very first business credit card without any net 30, without anything. All right. So that's what you do. Go to Capital One, go to Chase, go to someplace where you bank. Okay, that's really helpful, or where you already have a credit card. So for instance, after I got my Bank of America credit card, I called up Amex because I love American Express. I get all my Delta miles. So I said, I need a business credit card. Now I have a business. And they said, heck yeah, we know you've been paying. You've been with us for years and years. What do you need? So I said, I don't know, $20,000 sounds good. So, it's really helpful to use these relationships that you already have established. The one thing I will say is, when you do this, be 100% certain that they're actually opening a business credit card for you, for your business, using your business name and business EIN number, and not your person. Because many times banks have cards that are called business cards, but people get them. They're, under people's names. So just ask, double, triple check and say, please confirm for me that this card is issued under my EIN number for my business. It should not come up under my personal name, although my name will be on there. So just triple check that, because you don't want to think you're opening a business account, but you're really opening a personal account that has like the name business on the card. Okay. Chase is Chase does that a lot. So just beware. Okay. What is next? So you've got all these accounts now. What do you do with them? How do you build your credit? And how do you monitor that credit? Well, this is so important, everybody. People don't tell you this, okay? You don't learn this on the street. You don't learn it in school. You don't learn it anywhere. These are credit best practices. Only use 25% of your available credit at any given time. Some people say 30. I don't like 30, because when you hit 30, that starts to drop your score. So I stay at 20, comfortably at 25%. Okay. If you happen to use more than 30% of the available credit on any of your credit accounts, your paydex score will drop, and it drops significantly sometimes. And that goes as well for your personal credit. This is all credit. It's a good rule for all credit. Now, what does that mean? So let's say I have 4 cards. Does that mean that I can max one out, not use another one, and then use another one 5%, and it all averages out to 25% of all my available credit? No, that's not how it works, okay? Each card is its own available credit. So each card needs to stay at 25% usage, okay? Card 1, 2, 3, 4, every card. So monitor that closely. I can't emphasize that enough. Just be aware of your credit usage. and keep it at 25% and under for each account. And always, always pay ahead. Okay, some people pay twice a month. I've never really had to do that, but I do pay at least a week in advance. I do everything auto pay so that I know I'm never going to miss a payment because I'm, too busy in life. So if you can pay 10 days ahead, do it. Have it set up to pay all those accounts, a week in advance. Well, this is all important because at some point you can then apply for a business line of credit. Now that's where things get really cool because now we're talking about big money, okay? So once you have maintained your credit lines for about 6 months or so, you've attained consistent positive cash flow in your business, you might be eligible for a business loan and, business line of credit. And why would you want one? Well, you want to have cash available, like big cash available in case some opportunity comes up and you need to, quickly run on it, or you have a big renovation that comes up. Well, you've got your line of credit that you can pull from. So these are really helpful. Business loan providers will look at your business credit score first, which is based on your EIN, to determine your eligibility. Sometimes they do look at your personal credit, but it shouldn't impact the ability to get a loan. It just kind of depends on the lender, really. So all lenders have different criteria. But having a business line of credit is so important to grow your business and scale, okay? So you can go from having credit cards of 20, 30,000 to having a business line of credit of 500,000. So it's huge. The scale is huge. So that should be your long-term, it's not just about these credit cards, it's long-term. You can get really great business lines of credit. And finally, how do you monitor your credit? It's really important to monitor it because you want to make sure things are reported correctly and that your score reflects what you actually have been doing. So you can pull your credit report from these 4 different vendors, companies, credit bureaus. So you can pull it on Dun & Bradstreet. You can pull it on Experian Business Credit. You can pull it on Equifax Business Credit, or you can check your business FICO score. These are all active links. You can get on each of these. I believe Dun & Bradstreet sends you your score once a year, maybe twice a year for free. That's when I got super excited after 6 months and I saw they sent me my score and I was like, this is amazing. So check it. If they don't send it to you, go in and check it. It does cost, each of these charges something different. I think Dun & Bradstreet charges $25 to check your business credit, but it's worth it. Trust me, once or twice a year, check that business credit, make sure it looks the way it needs to. Now know that every vendor does, each vendor does not report to all of these credit bureaus, okay? So it's important to note that maybe in one credit bureau, you pull it and it looks like maybe, it's not that complete. And it could be because some vendors are not reporting to that credit bureau. So that's why it's good sometimes to pull a couple of reports so you can see the bigger picture. All righty. And like I said before, none of this is original material. There's resources all over the internet. I found this one that's called How to Establish Business Credit. That is a really great, easy to follow resource. It's a web page and you literally just scroll and it basically tells you exactly what I told you now, but with more detail and also links. So really helpful. And this is basically what Prime or Anderson would do for you. Okay, this is what they do. So now you're empowered to do it yourself and pay $0 except for registering your LLC. So this is also an active link on the PDF document, so you can click to it and find that resource. So I want to end with this. As complicated as the term may sound, business credit is simply any financial credit acquired from a business venture. It's operated by a system that differs significantly from that of personal credit, but it's not complicated. It's actually straightforward. It's not hard to follow. It's not hard to do. You don't need some kind of expert to do it for you. So just remind yourself, it's not a hard thing. I just have to know how to do it. And that is all I have today. I'm now ready for questions. Usually on my calls, I have like a zillion questions now. So I'm happy to start taking them.
And just for the record, it's very, very difficult for me to be silent this long. But you said you were in a good flow, and then so I took lots of notes and questions and I wrote them here, but I will let everybody else chime in. I've been trying to answer some questions off on the side as you went as well. So please, anybody that's in the group chat, please raise your hand. We'll bring you up and please ask questions. I've learned quite a few things actually and so I appreciate it. You know, because I have, out of my business lines of credit cards, I have a favorite. That's a no-no.
Oh.
So I've gone past that 25% rule that I didn't know existed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have other cards that have,
I'll be honest, it's 30%. I just don't ever like to get that close.
Yeah. So I have several cards that have zeros and one card that's, goes up and down. Mm-hmm. And I got to change that. So I appreciate it.
I say spread the love. That's
spread the love.
Yes.
And was there a minimum dollar amount when you first started pulling those 4 to 6 30-day accounts?
Not really. As long as you're spending, I think, like between $25 and $50 a month on each of those, I think you're good. So do that. And then when you get your credit card, also like charge $100 every month on it. Even if you're buying some personal things or whatever, you want to have activity. If you just have your card sitting there, it's not actually building any credit just because you have it.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're not taught these things.
And these are all little steps, like you said, and the end of it, right? End of the journey. And 6 months goes by fast, right? Mm-hmm. We always turn around, look back and said, boy, 6 months ago, I wish I would have started this. Mm-hmm. But the business lines of credit that you could pull are where the gems are at, right? Not that there's not gems all along the way, because those are all good things to have too. But the end goal is that, boy, if we could everybody in this chat and everybody in the Facebook group could have $100,000, $500,000 business line of credit available for a project. Oh boy, we'd be a powerhouse, wouldn't we?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's why business credit is so important, in my opinion.
So where would you go to recommend to set up your lines of credit? It says Stephanie.
The business lines of credit, that's a wonderful question. Do not go to the big banks, okay? So I wouldn't go to Bank of America to get a business line of credit. I would call up these small banks in your town, in your city, even in your state, really. Call up those smaller banks, call up your credit unions, and just have a chat with them. I literally only called one bank, which was crazy. I drive my daughter to school every day and I see this bank and I'm like, that bank looks neat. I've never heard of it and it's so cute. Maybe I should call it. I don't know. I just felt like I should call it. So I called it and I said, hey, I'm looking for a business line of credit. I don't know if this is what you do. And I'm a real estate investor. And they said, we actually specialize in real estate investing. So it was a fantastic conversation. And after about 30 minutes, I was already applying for a business line of credit. And I'm now ready to close probably in the next week on a $500,000 business line of credit with this bank that I had never heard of, but apparently it's, been around for 100 years. But you want to establish that personal relationship. I already know who I go to at that bank. She calls me. She wants to do for me. She wants to help me. So it's wonderful to have those relationships. So definitely find those small banks, give them a call and tell them what you're looking for. And they'll say, how much do you want? How much do you need? Start reasonable, So I start reasonable. I'm like 200, and then we talk. And then she's like, oh, but you have properties, then that means you can have a much higher line of credit. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about this. So those relationships are really important. So call those local banks, even if you haven't heard of them, or your credit unions.
And you're building those lines of credit and asking for those lines of credit, even when you don't necessarily have a use for them yet.
I have zero use for that $500,000 right now. I have some thoughts, but if a great opportunity comes up, then I have this money that I can quickly pull from. And what's beautiful about a line of credit, it's like a HELOC. You're not actually incurring any interest if it's just sitting there. You only incur interest on what you use. So if I take out 50,000 to renovate a property and create, like a basement apartment, then I'm only being charged interest on that $50,000 and the time frame that I took it out. Then once let's say I refinance that property and get my $50,000 back, I put it back in that line of credit and it's sitting there for when I need it and want it.
And Macarena, what kind of interest rates are you talking about in those lines of credit?
So right now they're prime. They're prime. So we're talking about between 7 and 8.
That's still better than on the private market side, though.
Yeah,
if you need that, yeah.
It is. And here's another great thing about establishing these relationships. Later on, I may refinance with this bank because they specialize in real estate, and I may get a portfolio loan with this bank, and they're already, watching the interest rates, and they're going to let me know when the interest rates drop and, and tip the balance where it would make sense for me to refinance. Like, they help you when you can't even help yourself, really. So it's really important to have those relationships. It just opens the door to so many things.
And Maria has a good question. And what's the purpose of having the net 30 accounts if you already have good credit?
Well, how would you have good credit already for your business account is the question. Yeah. Because if you just have one credit card, one business credit card, that won't be enough to build business credit. Now, if you can pull off somehow getting 3 business credit cards in your first 6 months and using them, then you don't need any net 30 accounts. I don't use net 30 anymore. I just used it at the beginning, very beginning. But once I had my 3 business credit cards, I was like done with net 30. Now I'm just going to spread the love across these 3 every month. And that's what I do.
And again, having really, really good personal credit is a great thing to have, but it doesn't necessarily transfer over, meaning that you're going to start with good business credit.
No, you start with 0.
You start with 0.
Yes.
So even if you have that fantastic credit, personal
credit score, it helps, right? That having that fantastic credit really helps, especially when you're opening those accounts with your existing banks, et cetera, because they already know your track record. But it does not mean that you have that score. It just helps you get that credit line or, that credit card.
And for somebody that's, I'm sure there are several people in my shoes. Now, I have real estate in Texas, Oklahoma, Michigan. I have a Wyoming LLC, so I have multiple LLCs. And again, another thing that this has brought to light to me, I think I'm guilty of. We should have a DUNS number for all of them, and should be doing this for all of them. Correct?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
And
can't get messy.
Guilty I am not. I've done one, followed through, and that's where I've stopped. But yeah. As we were just on the side chat talking about, you started another LLC, you're starting from scratch again. That LLC has a 0 credit rating, and you have to go through the baby steps again.
All over that, all those steps again. Yeah. I think Lourdes, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Macarena. Have a couple questions. Well, first of all, I set up my, I went through the whole credit building thing through Prime. I wish I'd known all of this. And first of all, thank you so much for this presentation. You did an awesome job. My question is that I set mine up, or I started that back in October. And right away, Experian gave me a Paydex score. Like after like the second month, it was at 85, and Prime kept saying, that's great, this and that. And so I've been watching it. They had me also sign up with nav.com, which is like a credit boost company that was monitoring that. And that's how I was able to check it, to see what it was. But all of these months, and it's now been, what, 8 months or so, however long that is, I kept questioning, why I wasn't seeing a paydex score under Dun and Bradstreet. And it just saying, oh, it takes time, it takes time. You'll start seeing it after about 4, 5, 6 months. Well, it's been much longer than that, and I'm still not seeing one. I do plan after your presentation, pulling my report to see if maybe something shows up there. But I was been concerned all along, because when I first set up my LLC, and I didn't know anything about LLCs or even the addresses and stuff to use. I didn't have my own business address at the time, which I now set up through the UPS mailbox thing. So when I registered, the address I put was the registered agent address.
Oh, yes.
And I questioned that of Prime, saying, could that be affecting it? Because now I do have one, but maybe they're not finding me, or because the bank made me use, I went and established my business checking, a business line of credit, and a business credit card with Wells. I did it like you, I did it backwards as well, but I did get a nice line of credit from them and a credit card. And they told me I had to use my personal home address, and of course the protection was there because they can't disclose addresses. So I was like, okay. But and then I had an Amex Amazon card that I got, and I've been paying them. I pay it like usually within days of receiving it, or no more than like a week or two. And yet there's still no paydex. So I'm just wondering how soon you saw a paydex score under Dun and Bradstreet for yourself. I have a couple other questions.
Sure. So here's the thing. You're not the first person to have said that, who joined the credit building program with Prime. There's some ladies on the calls that I've given that say that they never got a score, or they're still waiting and there's no score. So I've heard that before. I will just tell you, for me, I started with you, Lourdes, in October, and Reen. I had my paydex score, or the Duns and Bradstreet score, which is different than paydex. It doesn't go 0 to 100. It goes like 0 to 800. And it has like a scale. I think I shared it in the group, but that was quick. I mean, I think at month 4, maybe month 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I had that. So you should go back and ask them. I mean, make sure you have a DUNS number, of course. But go back and ask, because you're not the first person who's asked that question.
Should I be asking Prime, or should I just contact Dun and Bradstreet?
First, ask Prime. Ask them if, I mean, you should have a DUNS number, right? Do you know if they got? Okay, then maybe contact Duns and Brads and say, here's my DUNS number, I don't see any score yet. Why is that?
Okay. And so you've recommended getting more business lines of credit. I actually applied after they sent me the phase 2 list of vendors, which was the business credit cards. I did apply to one. They suggested start with one for now. I applied back in like April, and it said, oh, it'll take 7 to 10 days, and I've still not heard, and I've been trying to like reach them. Still nothing. It was with Union Bank or United Bank, something like that. Anyway, I'll just keep.
So I will tell you, when a lender is not responsive, I just go to the next one. Because every lender is different.
And are you using the business lines of credit for like putting money down when you're purchasing homes? And would you recommend that versus hard money or private money?
So I am a follower of Jordan Cooper, and I follow his calls every Monday, twice. And he would say, no, you shouldn't do that, right? He would say, use that for very short type, like for like. So you'd use it for short projects. So if you thought you were going to do a cash out refinance, you wanted to use that, 20% and take it from the line of credit, because in 6 months you're going to cash out and take that 20 back out and put it in the line of credit, then that's okay, right? Because the interest rate is lower than a PML, but nothing longer than that. And so, I use my business lines of credits for renovations. That's what I use them completely. I renovate things, and then I do cash out refi and I pay myself back. Well, not myself, but my HELOC or my line of credit. So that's the main way that I use them.
So you also have a HELOC, because I have a HELOC as well, but I've been afraid to touch for.
I started with the HELOC before I had my business line of credit. In fact, I still don't have the business line of credit. Okay. It takes a while. So we're closing like in a week. But I've used my HELOC for all of the renovations I've been doing. And I also use my HELOC for private money lending.
Okay. Yes. At this point too, do you think it's still okay to apply for like the Home Depots and some of these other cards? Will they pull your personal credit, or?
Now that you have business credit, they should not be pulling your personal credit. So that is something you should ask. I always ask when I apply for a business credit card. I say, if they ask me for my social security, I say, are you going to pull my personal credit? Because this is for a business credit card. I don't want that to be pulled. So always ask. So
it sounds like it's better to, when you're applying, to call versus just applying online.
Yeah, I always call.
Awesome. I think those are all my questions. I appreciate your time, Macarena.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, lots of people with hands up. I think that starts from the bottom up. Celeste, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for having Macarena, and thank you for all the information. I was listening to Prime on the Friday calls, and they had suggested that if you have two businesses, only start with the net 30 for one business. So like one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a real estate business and I'm starting an e-com business. So they said just do one at a time. What do you think about that? Because that's like 4 months, right? 4 to 6 months, and do all that process and then start with the other business. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why there's any specific reason that you can't do it. Maybe they just don't want you to be overwhelmed because, you know, it is a process just to do it for one business, but they are separate entities. So in fact, if you call one lender, credit card company, and say, I have two businesses and I need two separate credit cards, they'll ask you about each business and you'll give them information about each business, and they can issue you two credit cards, one for each business. So you could, you know, kill two birds with one stone, potentially, if some banks are good with that. I think there's no harm in trying. There's nothing that says you cannot.
Right. And that's what I was thinking. So it didn't make sense to me. Like, why, if they're two different EIA numbers, they're just like, it's all different. So,
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to pick your brain on that. And that was really it. So thank you so much for the information.
You're welcome.
So can you explain what Paydex is again?
So Paydex, think of it as your credit score, your FICO score for your business. Okay, so Paydex goes from 0 to 100. Anything above 85 is really good. And basically what it says is you are credit worthy. You are a person who pays back their credit. So, you know, you can be trusted to have, you know, to get credit. And then for Duns and Bradstreet, it goes from 0 to 800. Same thing. So scale, if you reach 800, you're great. It works exactly the same as your personal credit. It's just your credit score for your business.
Maria, I think you're the next one to have your hands up.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. So I have a question, Macarena. My address says New Jersey, but I'm planning to start my LLC in Texas. And I have a place that I'm staying here in Texas, but I don't actually register my name to live there. So if I form my LLC, which address should I use? Should I use my New Jersey or Texas residence?
Well, if you're forming your LLC in Texas, then you need a Texas address, because
okay.
LLCs are state specific.
Right. Okay, got it. Okay, that
And
was
then
a
of
quick
course
one.
you want to receive the mail. So you want to make sure
That's
that
true.
whatever address that you're selecting, that, you know, you can receive that mail. I know a lot of ladies like to use a USPS virtual mailbox, and there's some other very affordable ways to do this. I personally, you know, everyone's gonna say, no, I use my own address. I'm my own registered agent. And that's simply because I am not an anonymous person. I own properties. I drop off cookies. I chat with tenants. I fix things myself. I have a little tool belt. So I will never be anonymous, and people know where I live already. So, but for all of those people who want to stay anonymous, you know, you can use one of those services.
Got
I
it,
want to
got it.
rent from you and have you bring me cookies. I think that's a great idea.
I deliver poinsettias during Christmas, you know, the
Oh, that's
reason why I do
cute.
this is because I like having relationships with people. So I will never be, you know, a ghost.
Right, right. And then one more question, one last question. I have a Prime's call this week, and I was hearing a lot of ladies like mentioning something about S Corp or C Corp to build an LLC. So I'm under in the understanding of I have to decide if I wanted an S Corp or C Corp before making my own LLC.
You don't have to do it before. You can do it after you create your entity. And the C Corp, S Corp selection is purely for tax purposes. Okay, so that's something important. It has really nothing to do with your entity as it is. It is a way to tell the IRS how they should tax your business. That's all I can tell you, because that's as far as I get, because my mom tells me everything else.
Right.
You can make that election. There's a form, I forget what form that is, and you just mail it to the IRS.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And then we have, looks like Dennis Oliver.
Thank you. I have a question. I went to Chase. That's the, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's the bank where I have my business, personal and business account. And I went to apply for a credit card, but they're asking me for my social security in addition to the EIN number. And I was like, I'm not sure about that, so I'm gonna come back.
Yes, that is very common. So that is very common, especially when you don't have business credit established. It's very common that they use your social security to check, and usually it's a soft pull unless you're getting your business credit for the very first time. And this is where I say it's very important for you to ask. When they ask for your social security number, you ask them, or you tell them really, I want this business credit card for my business using my EIN. Is my social security number being used just, you know, as like background, you know, check for my credit worthiness, but the credit card is issued to my company. So make sure you ask
Yes,
that.
they did say that. They did. But
Okay.
I wanted to double check before I went ahead and do it.
Yeah, that's very, very common.
Okay, so I can go ahead and do that. And
Yeah.
then what is the name of the bank that you apply for the credit line?
I don't know if it's all over the country. It's in Georgia. It's called Bank OZK.
Okay.
But it's really not the bank was so important. It was a smaller bank. It was local. It was.
Yeah.
No,
There are banks that really specialize in business transactions. So
Right.
you want to find those.
perfect. Thank you so much for everything, Macarena. Thank you for this
Welcome.
meeting.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And let's see who else. Lots of hands up again. Daydon Butler. I think you're the.
Hi.
Hello.
My questions might be a little bit redundant, but I just want to make sure I have clarity.
Mhm.
So I am with Prime, which of course, my entity is registered in Wyoming, but I live in Florida. So if I understand you correctly, you're saying that I should still register with the Secretary of State in Florida. Is that necessary to do that?
So if you're with Prime, the way they would have set you up is they set you up with the holding umbrella LLC in Wyoming, and that's for anonymity. And then they would have set up a subsidiary LLC in your state. So you should have two. So that's the way they normally set people up. So you should
Okay.
already have that second one.
So I don't have to do it. I'll call them just to
Yeah.
make sure. I wanted to be sure there was something I needed to do.
Mhm.
And then my second question is with somebody already kind of asked that question about the net 30 account, about the amount. And you were saying that it's okay to do $25 to $50 per month.
You know, what I say is do what you can, right? Do what you're comfortable with, your budget allows. Don't get crazy. If it takes you a year to build that credit, but you don't go into debt, then that's great, right? Just be reasonable with it. And just, if you can spend 25 bucks every month on each of those accounts, do it. If you can only spend 10, do it. Just be sure to spend every month. I think that's the important part, is to show that you're spending and paying all in time.
Right.
If you don't have a lot of resources, you know, just do what you can.
Yeah. And I like some of the ones that, because Prime gave some examples of net zero accounts, but some of them, I like the Amazon. I didn't know about that. And I also didn't know about Wayfair. So
Yeah,
that was
Wayfair's
a
great.
good one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And let's see if I got us out of order here, but I think Maria, you still have a question?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
All right.
Actually, Macarena, can you, I'm gonna put my email here in the chat.
Mhm.
Can you email that presentation to me and I will get it? Are you okay if I post it, or do you want me to just email it out?
I usually email it out,
Okay.
because I don't want people who haven't seen my presentation to just like take it and run, because I really want to give them information for them to understand it, and not just like grab the document and think that they know what they're doing just because they have the document.
No worries. Yeah, you could email it to me, and then for those who are wanting the presentation, if you could email me, I just posted my email address up there. Send me an email and just ask me for it, and I will shoot it out to you.
I had one more question.
Thank you, Cindy.
If I may.
Please.
Macarena, when we're applying for these cards, they often ask us, well, they always ask how much your income is. For those of us who are just starting, and like for me, I've only gotten one deal so far, which I didn't make much money. I've got goals, but not money. What do you recommend? You know, that should we just guesstimate how much we would like?
Yes, that's a great question. So what I do is I estimate based on what my goals are for the year. I estimate what the earnings of the business will be. Sometimes I fluff that up by 10%. Sometimes I take last year's earnings and, you know, fluff that up by 10 or 15%. It's really up to you. They don't ask for any type of evidence of your earnings unless you're getting a line of credit. Those they ask for lots of background information. But for the credit cards, you just want to estimate what you think your earnings will be for the year. And if it's low, it's okay. You know, they'll just give you a lower limit, and that's okay too. You know, you got to start somewhere.
Okay, so it does make a difference if it's for the line of credit, because I was thinking of contacting my credit union.
For a business line of credit that is anything above 100,000, they're going to ask you for lots of documentation, which includes like rent rolls and, you know, business taxes and business profit and loss. So those are serious, which is why I think it's better to get those, you know, after like 6 months or a year of operating.
So maybe I should start with a business credit card with them.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Macarena, how can people reach you? I see I say that because there it is in the middle of the screen. I just want to make sure everybody has their attention to that and can see that
Yes,
you have posted your email address. So
yep,
people can reach out to you if they have additional questions.
absolutely, yes.
Excellent. We do appreciate it. Like I said, I've learned a lot tonight. So
Oh, good.
thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. There's some things that, it's that reminder to go, you need to go do this. It's that if you don't get it done now in 6 months, you're going to go back and kick yourself and say, why didn't you start this 6 months ago?
Right, and it's not hard, right? You just got to sit there and do it.
Right. None of it's difficult. It just takes a little bit of time now.
Mhm,
Plant those little seeds. That way you
exactly.
have a harvest to bring
Yes.
in later. Yes. Excellent. Any more questions? Any other discussions we want to bring up, please? Well, we got everybody here. So are you going to buy some more properties in Georgia this year?
Yes, I'm trying to buy one per quarter. That's my goal. I'm on track.
And again, you're trying to stick to that belt line. Is that correct?
Not always. If there's a really great deal in other areas that I know are appreciating and that are places where people want to live, then I will definitely buy there as well. But the Beltline area is a really we want to focus our efforts there.
And we do have some good wholesalers, some good deal finders in the group. So
oh, awesome. So I am looking for cabins in North Georgia and anywhere, Lakeview, Creek, whatever, let me know.
And again, we appreciate everybody's time tonight. I know everybody's busy, so thank you for joining us. Thank you for learning with us. And Macarena, thank you so much for all the knowledge. We greatly appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Macarena, I really appreciate you doing this for us. And before anyone goes, whoever is not in the Creative Real Estate University, please join because I will be bugging Macarena to come back and talk about pad splits.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I'm excited
that's
for
the
that
next
one.
Yeah, that's a good one. In fact,
Yeah.
you're not the first person. I've got like 3 others that want me to speak on it, so I have to prepare a presentation on it. So
There you go. Yeah, fantastic. Well, we so appreciate it. Thank you so much, Macarena, for doing this for us.
you're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Awesome.
Right. Thank you very much. Have a
Have
wonderful
a great
night.
evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.